What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique of the Fight Guys. I'm a Forbes contributor and also write for Heavy.com. And we're talking UFC on ESPN 9, headlined by Tyron Woodley versus Gilbert Burns. We're powered by Fight TV and presented by BetOnline.ag. We are talking a prelim fight between Tim Elliott and Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval is a newcomer to the UFC. As you can see right now, they don't have any odds available for this fight. Usually, you won't see more than one, maybe at the most two fights not have odds at this stage of the week. I'm quite sure rolling into Wednesday or Thursday, we will see odds up for these fights. And so maybe through the week during our Fight Guys podcast, I'll make some comments about some of the odds that have come in late. But I'm gonna be totally honest with you, it really more than likely won't change what my predictions are. If anything, my predictions start to change possibly after the weigh-ins. Or if I see something during fight week around Wednesday or Thursday, once the guys and or girls are at the location, just kind of pick up on different vibes. But the odds are not really going to affect my prediction because I've already looked at the fighters. I've already watched past fights. I've already assessed different records and trends, and then I'm going to think what I'm going to think, and so I'm going to be right or wrong, whatever it goes. So let's get into this particular fight. Tim Elliott is a veteran of the UFC flyweight division. Perhaps one of the best performances of his career was when he really pushed Demetrius Johnson in one of Demetrius Johnson's toughest defenses of his UFC flyweight title. And because if you remember, Mighty Mouse's reign as the UFC flyweight champion, he very rarely fought anybody who gave him much of a tough fight. But back in December of 2016, it was on the Ultimate Fighter 24 finale. Tim Elliott, he lost by unanimous decision, but he made a really good account of himself. Unfortunately, since then, he hasn't fought all that much. He's only fought 5 times since 2016, and his record is only 2-3 since then. And he's lost his last 2 fights, even though they were definitely respectable losses. The unanimous decision loss back in January to Askar Askarov, who was a really, really good grappler, just a very, highly touted up and coming fighter in the UFC. And then prior to that, in October of 2019, he was submitted by Davison Figueiredo, who would be the UFC flyweight champion right now if he had made weight before he stopped Joseph Benavidez in his last fight. So, as I said, you can look at Tim Elliott's record and say 15-10, but he hasn't really lost to anybody who wasn't legit. I mean, if I broke down, we're not talking about like early in his career, because the first 3 fights of his career, he drew in the first fight, lost his second fight, and then lost his third fight. And before he went on like a 8-fight win streak that landed him in the UFC. But if aside from those 2 losses, which I think you can kind of dismiss, these are the only people that Tim Elliott has lost to: John Dodson, Ali Bagatinov, Joseph Benavidez, Zach Makovsky, Demetrius Johnson, Ben Nguyen, Figueiredo, and Askarov. All of those losses are really respectable losses. So I say all that to say, let's give Tim Elliott some respect and say that 15-10, he's actually probably a better fighter than what that indicates. But Brandon Royval, 27-year-old from Inglewood, California. I always want to say California, I have to say Inglewood. But Inglewood, Colorado, even spelled differently, trains at Factory X. He is really just about in a place as a professional mixed martial artist where I think he's at his best right now. I think over the next 2 to 3 years, you will see Brandon Royval competing at his best. Now, is that good enough to beat Tim Elliott? Let's talk about it. He's coming off 2 straight victories. His last win came in November of 2019. He won the LFA Flyweight Championship with a 23-second submission victory over Nate Williams. Nate Williams is an interesting fighter, and I don't know how much of what we saw in that fight we'll be able to take from this, because Nate Williams is 5'1". He literally charged from one end of the cage to the next and tried to make it an ugly brawl and got himself wrapped up in an armbar. Tim Elliott's not going to do that. Also, Tim Elliott is 6 inches taller than him. So I don't know we can take too much from that. That is a fight that earned Royval this shot in the UFC, making his UFC debut. But he did put together a really sound LFA career. that ended up with him winning that championship in that fight. So this is a an interesting fight because Royval's much longer. Just from an arm lift standpoint, he's much longer. I'm not. They're both listed at 5'7", even though you'll look at those guys and it does not look like they're about the same size. I know it's hard to tell here because we didn't have a full body image of Brandon Royval available, but from an arm lift standpoint and a leg length standpoint, I don't know if these guys are the same height. I think Brandon Royval is a little taller. That said, I think Tim Elliott is physically stronger than Royval, so it will be very interesting to see who gets the edge when this fight goes into different grappling sequences. Royval is very, very good on the ground. He's tricky, especially working off his back, which is a place he might very well find himself because Elliott is pretty proficient at getting inside, getting into the body of his opponents and trying to get this fight to the ground. I would not be shocked to see this fight go to the ground. And I would not be shocked to see Royval somewhat comfortable working off of his back. Uh, tough fight to call. This is one of the toughest on the card, in my opinion. But I am going to side for this particular one with Tim Elliott. It's so tough. There's a part of me that wants to say Brandon Royval wins this fight because he's a younger fighter. I think he's got a lot going for himself. And I think he has a future for sure in the UFC, and this would be a tough loss for him in his first fight. But Tim Elliott has been through some fires and been through some wars. I think he still has something left in the tank. Uh, when he lost to Askarov, that fight actually wasn't a one-sided, lopsided kind of a ordeal. It was, he had some moments where he did well. I just think one of my main reasons for going with Tim Elliott here is that I believe that Brandon Royval will be too comfortable and too willing to accept a takedown. And I think he'll work for submissions from his back, but I don't think he'll be able to actually lock Tim Elliott up in those things. And I don't think that Tim Elliott is going to allow this fight to stay standing. You keep hearing me mention this, and I mean it because I think it's important. This smaller octagon is going to play a factor. Brandon Royval, even if he wants to keep this fight standing, I don't know that he'll be able to do that in a smaller cage. I think this one gets to the ground, and I think Elliott has more success from top position. And I think Royval throws up submissions. He tries to work triangles and things like that. I think Tim Elliott will be wise to it. I think he'll avoid it. And I think that he wins this fight by unanimous decision based primarily on more top position in 2 of the 3 rounds. So that's my take. I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done it as of yet. As always, I appreciate you watching. God bless and peace.